Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Shri Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Stute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminete Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha Anandalilamaya Vigrahaya Hemavadivya Chavisundaraya Tasmai Mahaprema Rasapradaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Nityanandamaham Naumi Sarvanandakaram Param Harinama Pradam Devam Avadhuta Shiromani. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Shri Nityananda Ram ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you all your devotees for very kindly joining for our reading of the Krishna book. Let us continue from the point where we left off. A person who has a pinprick in his body does not wish others to be pricked by pins. A considerate man in the life of poverty does not wish others to be also put in that condition. Generally, it is seen that one who has risen from poverty-stricken life and becomes wealthy creates some charitable institution at the end of his life so that the other poverty-stricken men might be benefited. In short, a compassionate poor man may consider others' pains and pleasures with empathy. A poor man is seldom puffed up with false pride, and he may be freed from all kinds of infatuation. He may remain satisfied by whatever he gets for his maintenance by the grace of the Lord. The Srila Prabhupada here is talking about those who are poor and they being satisfied by whatever they get for the maintenance. In Mahaprabhu's pastime, when Mahaprabhu was Nimai, the youth pastime, he's called as Nimai because he was born under the neem tree, Nimai. But at the same time, he was given the name Nimai because नीम का जो पत्ता होता है ये काफी कड़वा होता है. So he was called as Nimai for the fact that already Sachimata had lost many children, just like Devaki Maiya lost 6 children. Likewise, Sachimata also lost many children. So she named the son Nimai so that even Yamraj, when he comes, he will feel, oh, the name itself is so bitter. Naam hi jinka itna kadwa hai, I don't want to take that son. Because Neem is very bitter. So, of course, that is one understanding. The prominent or the most popular understanding is because he was born under Neem tree, but at the same time, Neem is bitter in nature, and Sachimata wanted that even Yamraj doesn't come near the person whose name itself is bitter. Actually, the name is not bitter. It is in line with the neem leaf. That's why it's bitter. But otherwise, the Supreme Lord's name is the sweetest. Madhura Madhura Metan. It is the sweetest. We find in the Nectar of Instruction also, Srila Rupa Goswami, he gives this analogy. Syat Krishna Nama Charita Disitapya Vidya Pitto Pataptarasana Narochikanu Kintva Dhara Danudinam Khalu Saiva Justa Swadvi Kramat Bhavati Tad Gadamula Handri. Nectar of Instruction, text 7. Srila Rupa Goswami gives this famous example of the jaundice. When a person has jaundice, then even if he has sugarcane juice, that is also bitter for him. Doesn't mean the sugarcane juice is bitter. It is sweet, but because he's conditioned and because he's not in the best of his health, he finds it to be bitter. And this is our state right now. We find the Lord's name very bitter. But doesn't mean the Lord's name is bitter. It is very, very sweet. If the Lord's name was bitter, why did Haridas Thakur chant throughout his life? If the Lord's name is actually bitter, then he should have given his consent for Lakshahira, the prostitute. If the name of the Lord is bitter, he should have said a yes to Lakshahira. But the name is so sweet, it is so sweet that he could easily say a no to her. The name of the Lord is everything. We find that so many examples of the power of Sri Nam Prabhu has been described. But here Prabhupada is talking about poverty, and in Mahaprabhu's pastime, there is one personality who was utterly poor, who would be in tattered clothes, who was very, very poor, who lived in a thatched roof, so much so that that thatched roof also was near the Ganga. So one wave of Ganga was good enough to destroy his whole house. Even during rains, because it was just a thatched roof, during rains, the water would seep in. And this devotee was so poor, he couldn't do anything, but he was still accepting it. He was satisfied with whatever the Lord was providing and the way the Lord was maintaining him. He is the most dear associate of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, dearest associate of Nimai, and he goes by the name Kolavecha Sridhar. Kolavecha Sridhar, his name is Sridhar, and Kolavecha means the banana leaf seller. So he would sell banana leaf. That was his income. He would maintain himself by selling banana leaves. He would sit outside his house and he would sell banana leaf. And different people would come. And it's not that he would charge a lot. This is 500 years back, and this is in Nadia in Navadvip. So he wouldn't charge a lot. It was very reasonable. But at that time, our dear Nimai would come, and Nimai would argue, and he would debate with Kolavecha Sridhar. Whatever Kolavecha Sridhar was quoting, the price that he was quoting, Nimai would want it in a half price. And Kolavecha Sridhar would say, Nimai, why are you doing this? I'm anyway not having anything. And now you are asking for 50% bargain, 50% discount. Where will I do it from? How will I maintain myself? How will I maintain my family? How will I do all those things? We see that's why here also, typically in India, we have this nature. Whenever we go to buy something, any vegetable or anything, we always bargain. We always bargain. We don't do it in the malls. But in the road, especially when we buy vegetables, fruits, we always bargain. Where is this tendency coming from? It is coming from Nimai, because Nimai would bargain. Aham sarvasva prabhava matta sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante ma buddha bhava samanvita. Krishna says everything comes from me. Everything emanates from me. The tendency to bargain also comes from Krishna, because he would bargain with Kolavecha Sridhar. So Sridhar Kolavecha was so poor, he would tell the Lord, I don't have anything. And on top of that, if you want 50%, how will it happen? But Nimai would still go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And Kolavecha Sridhar would agree, and he would give it in a discounted price, 50% discount. And this would not happen just one day. It would happen practically every single day. Every single day, Nimai would leave his house. He would come to Kolavecha Sridhar. He would ask the price. He would debate. He would argue and take it back in 50% discount. Now, this was monetary loss for Kolavecha Sridhar, but he would still accept. He would still accept. And this went on for so many days. And never was there a point, Vrindavan Das Thakur explains, never was there a point where Kolavecha Sridhar got angry and said, you are the reason because of which I am having monetary loss or financial loss. Never. Nimai was small at that time. But still, Sridhar Kolavecha was so loving that all the Nadiyavasis loved him for his sincerity and purity of his heart. For him, profession was secondary. The satisfaction of the people was primary. Doesn't mind if the person is a 5-year-old or a 50-year-old. Nimai was small, but still he loved and respected Nimai. And finally, when Nimai becomes Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, during the Mahaprakash Leela, where there's the 21 hours of ecstatic madness that takes place. That time Mahaprabhu calls different personalities. And he calls Kolavecha Sridhar. And when Kolavecha Sridhar comes, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the mood of Bhagavan, because that's the only pastime, or one of those pastimes where Krishna, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is in the mood of Krishna. All other pastimes, he's Dasanudas. All other pastimes, when someone calls him Vishnu, he will close his ears. He doesn't want to hear. But in this pastime, he's in the mood of Bhagavan. He's in the mood of God. He's sitting on a nice asan with nice garlands. Aarti is going on. Nityananda Prabhu is singing, and there's Chamar, and the Gaur Aarti is being sung. And when he is there in the mood of Bhagavan, he's in the mood of God. Sridhar Kolavecha comes there because his Nimai is calling. He comes and he offers obeisances. He prostrates himself. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Kolavecha Sridhar, please ask whatever you want. Whatever you want, I can give you. You want money? Kolavecha Sridhar says, no, I don't want money. Mahaprabhu says, but you don't have money. If you can get money, you can have an opulent lifestyle. He says, no, my dear Lord, what will I do with that money? That money will end. When I die, that money will stay here. What will I do with money? So Mahaprabhu says, do you want followers? I can give you lots of followers. Kolavecha Sridhar says, my dear Lord, what will I do with followers? I am a banana leaf seller. What will I do with having followers? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, what do you want? Ask anything that you want. Today, whatever boon you ask for Kolavecha Sridhar, I can grant. Kolavecha Sridhar says, my dear Lord, I don't want anything. I am just happy to see you. I don't want anything from you. I am not here to do a business transaction. I'm just happy. You are there in front of me. I'm just happy. I don't want anything. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, do you want Ashta Siddhi, Anima, Mahima, Lagima? Do you want this Ashta Siddhi where you can become smaller than the smaller, larger than the largest? You can have Vak Siddhi, whatever you say will come true. Kolavecha Sridhar says, my dear Lord, what will I do with this Ashta Siddhis? Smaller than the smaller, larger than the largest. What will I do with all these things? I'm a banana leaf seller. I don't want these things, my dear Lord. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu goes like, Kolavecha Sridhar, what do you want? You don't want money. You don't want followers. You don't want Anima, Mahima, Lagima. You don't want any of these siddhis. You don't want a house. You don't want recognition. What do you want? I can grant whatever you want. Please ask. Please ask for one boon. If not for you, at least for my satisfaction, Sridhar Kolavecha, please ask something. And that time, Kolavecha Sridhar, with tears flowing from his eyes, he says, my dear Lord, I am just begging one thing from you. Lifetime after lifetime, may that Nimai come to my stall, and may lifetime after lifetime I be a banana leaf seller. May lifetime after lifetime he argue and debate with me, and may lifetime after lifetime I give him at 50% discounted price. My dear Lord, I don't want anything. Those few moments of interaction with that Nimai Pandit is all that I want. Seeing his face every single day. He doesn't go to others, but he comes to me. He comes to me and he debates and argues, and in that few moments I can look at him, I can have conversations. My dear Lord, this is more precious for me than all the wealth. This is more precious to me than all the big houses. This is more precious to me than all the followers. This is more precious to me than all the siddhis that you mentioned. My dear Lord, what will I do with these things? I am a simple banana leaf seller. I am happy to see that Nimai come to me every single day. My dear Lord, if you can grant me this, I am happy. I am satisfied. I don't want anything. And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu hears this, Mahaprabhu has tears in his eyes, and Mahaprabhu says, my dear Sridhar Kolavecha, I bless you. Lifetime after lifetime, you will be a banana leaf seller. And lifetime after lifetime, I will come to you. Lifetime after lifetime, I will argue and debate with you. And lifetime after lifetime, you will give it in a discounted price. If this is what your heart is hankering for, so be it. Tathastu. And Kolavecha Sridhar was jumping in joy. Imagine, it's not that his life changed like that of Sudama. It's not that he became a multi-billionaire. He wanted the benediction that lifetime after lifetime he remains poor. Now, dear devotees, if we just pause here and if we think, Kolavecha Sridhar is ready to be externally poor, but is showing the world that to be with Nimai, to be with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is 1,000,000 times more fruitful than having all the wealth in this world. That is the actual wealth. That's the actual spiritual wealth, which is way more valuable than all the material wealth of this world. He's ready to be externally poor. He would have tattered clothes. Water would seep in, thatched room, no proper house, no proper clothes. No one knows him. And that too, on top of that, Nimai is debating and argumenting with him. But still, he is ready to see that one glimpse of Nimai once a day. He is ready to be externally poor. This is bhakti. This is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu's beauty is so much, it eclipses everything, including the money that people are running behind in this world. Nava Gauravaram, Nava Pushpasaram. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the most beautiful. As Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains, Bhaja Godruma Kanana Kunja Vidum. I worship that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Who is he? Bhaja Godruma Kanana Kunja Vidum. Vidum means moon. Kanana means the groves. Godruma is the forest. Bhaja Godruma Kanana Kunja Vidum. I worship that moon-like personality called Nimai, who is rising from behind the groves of the forest of Godrum. Bhaja Godruma Kanana. Kanana means forest. Bhaja Godruma Kanana Kunja Vidum. I worship that Nimai who is like a rising moon from behind the groves of the forest of Godrum. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the most beautiful and also the most magnanimous. Whatever the devotees asked for in the Mahaprakash Lila, Mahaprabhu was saying, Tathastu, Tathastu, Tathastu. He was ready to give all types of material opulences, but none of Mahaprabhu's associates in the Mahaprakash Lila asked for material opulence. If material opulence was so glorious, they would have asked it, because the Lord is ready to give. But we see none of them ask for material opulence. All of them ask only to be with Mahaprabhu, or bhakti, or may the Lord be kind that he blesses people of this world with pure devotion. But none of them ask material. This is what separates the associates of the Lord from people of this world. When we go to the Lord, we ask for things that are material. But when they are there with the Lord and Lord is ready to give them, they still want only bhakti. They only want spiritual. So Kolavecha Sridhar is the best example from Mahaprabhu's pastimes, who was poor, but as Prabhupada is explaining, he was satisfied by whatever he gets for his maintenance by the grace of the Lord. He was satisfied. Triptosmi, he was satisfied. To remain in the poverty-stricken condition is a kind of austerity. According to Vedic culture, therefore, the Brahmanas, as a matter of routine, keep themselves in a poverty-stricken condition to save themselves from the false prestige of material opulence. False prestige due to advancement of material prosperity is a great impediment for spiritual emancipation. A poverty-stricken man cannot become unnaturally fat by eating more and more. And on account of not being able to eat more than he requires, his senses are not very turbulent. When the senses are not very turbulent, he cannot become violent. Another advantage of poverty is that a saintly person can easily enter a poor man's house, and thus the poor man can take advantage of the saintly person's association. A Hare Krishna. I'm sorry, I think there was some internet issue because of which it just logged me off. But let us continue. Hopefully, the internet stays stable now. Another advantage of poverty is that a saintly person can easily enter a poor man's house, and thus the poor man can take advantage of the saintly person's association. A very opulent man does not allow anyone to enter his house. Therefore, the saintly person cannot enter. According to the Vedic system, a saintly person takes the position of a mendicant, so that on the plea of begging something from the householder, he can enter any house. The householder, who has usually forgotten everything about spiritual advancement because he's busy maintaining family affairs, can be benefited by the association of saintly person. There is great chance for the poor man to become liberated through association with a saint. Of what use are persons who are puffed up with material opulence and prestige if they are bereft of the association of saintly persons and devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? The great sage Narada Muni therefore thought that it was his duty to put those demigods into condition where they could not be falsely proud of their material opulence and prestige. Narada was compassionate and wanted to save them from their fallen life. They were in the mode of darkness, and being therefore unable to control their senses, they were addicted to sex life. It was the duty of a saintly person like Narada Muni to save them from their abominable condition. In animal life, the animal has no sense to understand that he is naked. But Kubera was the treasurer of the demigods, a very responsible man, and Nalakubera and Manigriva were two of his sons. And yet they became so animalistic and irresponsible that they could not understand due to intoxication that they were naked. To cover the lower part of the body is a principle of human civilization. And when men or women forget this principle, they become no better than animals. Narada therefore thought that the best punishment for them was to make them immovable living entities or trees. This is a very important point. In the present day that we live, the culture that we live, it's considered very fashionable. It's considered very cool to wear to have dress that is very scanty or revealing clothes, etc. But here Prabhupada says it is not cool. It's actually being a big fool. Prabhupada here clearly says to cover the lower part of the body is a principle of human civilization. And when men or women forget this principle, they become no better than animals. Very strong point. Narada therefore thought that the best punishment for them is to make them immovable living entities or trees. Trees by nature are by nature's laws immovable. Although trees are covered by the mode of ignorance, they cannot do any harm. And why trees? Because trees are covered by nature on also all sides. They don't have any clothes. So if someone is not covering their body, and for some Instagram likes and for some Facebook lives, if they put photos which are, as Prabhupada explains, not covering their body, then this is the end result. One ends up becoming trees because trees don't have anything. And they have to be in the cold, in the heat, in the snow, in the rain, and they cannot do anything. They cannot move, and there's absolutely nothing that they can do. Here in this case, at least these two trees were fortunate. Manigriva and Nalakuvera were fortunate that Krishna comes and uplifts them. But if you see the trees around, how many of them are fortunate? Krishna doesn't come down to rescue them. These two personalities were special. Of course, now logic does not apply to the trees of Vrindavan. Trees of Vrindavan are very different. The trees of Vrindavan are Kalpavriksha trees, point number one. And secondly, the trees of Vrindavan they are rishis. They are rishis, they are personalities who are doing bhajan. So it is not that the same logic that we apply to Vrindavan Dham. Vrindavan is separate. There only love works, only bhakti works. But any other place we find, it's a curse. It's a curse. So the life that we have, it is very, very important to present ourselves in the right way, especially the dressing. For some little likes in social media, or to look quote unquote cool in front of our friends, we may end up becoming a big fool for eternity. So, and here we find, even if someone is the sons of demigods, still this rule applies for them. So how important and how serious should we be when we dress ourselves? The great sage Narada thought it fitting that although the brothers would be punished to become trees, by his mercy, they would continue to keep their memory and be able to know why they were being punished. Again, they got this benefit. The trees around don't get this benefit. What to speak of the trees? Even the human beings don't remember their past life. But here Narada was kind to them. After changing the body, a living entity gradually forgets his previous life. But in special cases, by the grace of the Lord, as with Nalakuver and Manigriva, one can